Now are you ready? We're live.
Hello, William.
Say hi to your grandson.
Hi.
Hi to your grandson. Ready?
Yep.
Grandpa's ready. Happy birthday to you. Now that you're asleep. Happy birthday
To you.
Happy birthday, little William. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday. Buddy, say hi. Say hi to William. Buddy says happy birthday. Oh, he loves puppies. Buddy, say hi. Buddy, can you say woo, 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 woof? Buddy, say woof. Did you see the puppy, William? Get him. Get him, buddy. Get him, buddy. He won't. Well, you won't even do it for William? Nope. Happy birthday. Well, guess what? It is the end of your birthday week. Have you had enough stories, or should we just do this forever? Jason, you want to read a story to William?
No.
Jason says no. He's busy watching something really cool.
Stuff to do in school besides homework.
Stuff to do in school besides home. Are you ready for a really good story? This one is called Best of All. It's one of my very favorites. Actually, I think this was one of your daddy's favorites, if I remember right. Oh, it's kind of a long one. I don't know. It might be too big for you. You might want something shorter. What do you think? I'll get you a shorter one. Look at Buddy. He's eating a bone. What? Yes, I'll read him a short one because I'm gonna go neck with your father. I'm gonna read one more for little William. What haven't we read to him? Oh, he wants to read about John Henry, doesn't he? Do you remember John Henry had a little hammer? Do you remember who John? You don't know who John Henry is yet. He was an American legend. So I lied. This is not Best of All. I think that's too long for a little guy. John Henry, very famous. A hush settled over the hills. The sky swirled soundlessly around the moon. The river stopped murmuring. The wind stopped whispering, and the frogs and the owls and the crickets fell silent, all watching, waiting, and listening. Then the river roared, the wind whispered and whistled and sang. The frogs croaked and the owls hooted and the crickets chirped. Welcome, welcome, echoed through the hills. Oh, and John Henry was born with a hammer in his hand. Bang, 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 rang little John Henry's hammer through the cabin as he crawled about. What is that rascal up to now? His mama chuckled. And before she knew it, he was big enough to help her around the house. As he grew up, he did a man's work with his father. One day, John Henry thought, I'm taller and stronger than anyone around. It's time I went out into the world. He said goodbye to his mother and father, and off he went. He worked on farms and in cotton fields, but all that was too tame, so he got himself a job on a riverboat because he was big and strong and handsome. Well, one stormy night, the ship plowed through the darkness, and suddenly the big steel rod that turned the paddle wheel broke. The wheel stopped turning. Smash went the rod through the bottom of the ship. Pump water, shouted the captain. Get to port before we sink. John Henry leaped to the paddle wheel crank. He seized it, pushed, grunted and pulled, and slowly that giant wheel turned. With all his strength, he kept it turning. Oh, Lord Almighty, help us, someone whispered in that long, dark night. Day broke. They sighted shore and pulled into port. A thunderous cheer went up for John Henry. John Henry felt a new excitement in the air. Men were talking of railroads being built from the Atlantic to the Pacific. They're going to lay those tracks over rivers, across prairies and deserts, and right through the mountains. and through Indian lands and stampeding buffalo herds in Badlands. "Goodbye, boys," cried John Henry. "I'm going to swing me a hammer on those beautiful new tracks." "My hands are just itching to hold the hammer again," John Henry said. He tried one for size and laughed. "Whoa, it sure does feel fine." Oh, how he drove those spikes, singing to the clanging of his hammer. The men joined in, their voices singing, hammers ringing. John Henry's gang was in the lead. Day after day, the tracks moved steadily westward. John Henry was awesome. Rising across their path was a sprawling mountain range. Its snow-capped peaks reached high into the clouds. "We'll have to tunnel through," said his friend Little Bill. "Ooh, it'll be awful dangerous. Could be cave-ins," someone's put in. "Ah, it suits me fine," said John Henry. "Me too," added Little Bill. "Here's how we'll do it, boys," the foreman called out. "A couple of men will drive a hole into the rock. Then the powder man will put dynamite in the hole and explode it. The others will cart the loose rock away. We'll do this again and again until we have a tunnel right through the mountain. And it's going to be a real big tunnel, boys. Big enough for a giant locomotive pulling one of them long strings of trains. All right, boys, blast away." Do you see the blast? Deep into the mountain they worked. John Henry's singing echoed through the tunnel. The powder men got ready to blast more rock. They filled the hole with dynamite, put a long fuse in it, and lit it. "Run, men!" cried the foreman. They all scrambled back, ready to dash clear of the blast. At that instant came a great cracking and rumbling, and the entire tunnel trembled around them. "It's a cave-in! We're trapped!" There was no place to run. The fuse burned closer to the dynamite. John Henry was nearest the fuse. He ran to put it out, but tripped and fell. "Uh-oh. Ooh, I'm hurt bad," he groaned. "I can't get up." The fuse burned farther out of reach. Others rushed toward it, but they were too far away. Suddenly, John Henry remembered. He still had his hammer in his hand. Down came the hammer, smack, on the burning tip. The fuse was out, danger past. Whew, sighs of relief filled the smoky tunnel. "Whew, help me up, boys," mumbled John Henry. Clearing their way through the cave-in, the men carried him to safety. "Do you see his big hammer?" "That's all your mama and daddy need to give you is a big hammer." Some days later, they heard an unfamiliar clatter. Down the tunnel came a group of men with a strange machine. "This is a steam drill. It can drill more holes faster than any 6 men combined," a new man bragged. "Who can beat that?" John Henry stepped forward. "Try me." Do you see John Henry? He's big and tough. He and Little Bill took their workplaces. John Henry gripped his hammer and Little Bill clutched his steel drill. "Check the machine," came an order. A nervous hand fell on the switch. In the dark, both sides waited for the signal to start. A hoarse voice counted. 1, 2, 3. The machine shrieked as it started. John Henry swung his hammer. The crash of steel on steel split the air. Clang, bang, clang. The drill got red hot in Little Bill's hand. He quickly dropped it and picked up another. Sss, whistle, rattle. Men frantically heaved coal into the hungry, roaring machine and poured water into the steaming boiler. Do you see him working hard? Whoop, clang, whoop, bang. John Henry's hammer whistled as he swung it. Chug, chug, clatter, rattled the machine. Hour after hour raced by. The machine was ahead. Hand me that 20-pound hammer, Little Bill. Harder and faster crashed the hammer. Great chunks of rock fell as John Henry ripped hole after hole into the tunnel wall. The machine rattled and whistled and drilled even faster. Friends doused John Henry and Little Bill with cold water just to keep him going. Look how hard he's working. Then John Henry took a deep breath. He picked up 2 sledgehammers and sang, "Ain't no hammer strike such a fire, strike like lightning, Lord, and I won't tire. Hammers like this, Lord, there's never been. I'll keep a swinging 'em, Lord, until we win." Because John Henry had a little hammer. John Henry swung both mighty hammers faster and faster. He moved so fast the men could only see a blur and sparks from his hammer. His strokes rang out like great heartbeats. At the other end of the tunnel, or the other side of the tunnel, the machine shrieked and groaned and rattled and drilled, and then all at once it shook and shuddered and wheezed and stopped. Frantically, men worked to get it going again, but they couldn't. It had collapsed. John Henry's hammering still rang and echoed through the tunnel with a strong and steady beat. He had 2 hammers. Suddenly, there was a giant crash. Light streamed into the dark tunnel. John Henry had broken through. Wild cries of joy burst from the men. Still holding one of his hammers, John Henry stepped out into the glowing light of a dying day. It was the last step he ever took. Even the great heart of John Henry could not bear the strain of his last task. John Henry died with his hammer in his hand. Now, if you listen to the locomotives roaring through the tunnels and across the land, you'll still hear him singing that great still driving man. John Henry had a little hammer. He was really, really strong, wasn't he? He beat the machine. That is an American folktale. Pretty fun, huh? Happy birthday to you. I hope you had a lot of fun and a little bit of distraction. Maybe while Mommy was busy doing stuff, you could watch some of these stories, and hopefully it would divert you a little bit and help you enjoy this whole week of your birthday. You know, you should ask your dad for 2 birthdays a year because he got 2 birthdays a year. Why not, huh? What do you think? Happy birthday. We love you. Bye. Hey, Jason, don't you think every kid should have 2 birthdays?
Yeah, if they actually got you what you wanted instead of an antique chess set. The chess set has plastic instead of
He's complaining about the antique chess set. I spent.
It was made of plastic.
I spent
It was
$60
made
on
of
that chess
plastic.
set.
That's a fat lie.
It was a
That is
nice gift.
thick lie.
Don't you listen to him
That
at
is
all.
a thick with 3 C's kind of a lie.
Really?
Yes.
What kind of present do you think little William wants?
I don't know. He's like
He's 1.
like 1.
He is 1 whole year. He's a big boy. Look at Buddy. Buddy's sleeping. Hi, Buddy. Say bye-bye to William.
Give him a lot of sugar. Give him like 3 bottles of Coca-Cola. 3 bottles of Coca-Cola and you'll be set.
No way. Don't listen to him. You cannot play with your Uncle Jason. He's crazy. Bye. See you later. Mwah.
Not gonna lie. I'd get him a Nintendo, like one of those old Nintendo.